Hello and welcome. Today we've got Alan Fountain, and today he is going to give us an update on Ukraine, Zelensky, the deep state, Trump, the operation plan, and much more. Now, just before we begin, you can subscribe to our Telegram channels and to nicholasveniamin.com for my free email updates. And if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, I will leave the link below in the description for the full interview, unless, of course, myself and Alan can choose our words wisely due to the insane censorship that's happening right now. Alan, thank you for joining me. How are you and what have you been up to?
Hi, Nicholas. I'm doing very well. Fortunately, things have calmed down. I've kind of gotten settled into a place where I'm going to be for a while. So I've been able to make some strides and headways into some of the advocacy and work that I've been doing with networking, making connections. So everything, the support of your audience and the persons that are supporting me are paying off. The resources are allowing me to make great connections. And I'll go into a little bit of that, of how I went to the Trump rally on Saturday called the American Freedom Tour and made great connections that are putting me right in the orbit of Mar-a-Lago and Trump. So this is great things are coming and everything is moving forward for my advocacy for the children. And I have some new intel on validating some things in Ukraine that some people may know and some people may not. But
okay, great. So let's go into the intel with Ukraine.
Okay, got it. What we'll do is people are aware. The interview we did the day after the war started was probably one of my most well-received podcasts with you. The compliments were so overwhelmingly positive, and people were proud that I was able to put it into a 30-minute well-rounded view where they can understand and have some security in knowing that this was a deep state operation where Putin is taking out the swamp in Ukraine. And so since this has evolved over the last 2 weeks, what I said in that podcast has come into fruition. We're learning that the media, I think what is going to happen from my decodes and what I'm witnessing is Ukraine is going to be used to help take out the media. The public is going to be so upset with the media for how they betrayed them and gaslighted them, because all the evidence is going to come out that proves that what they're telling is not true. So aside from lying about the children issues, this Ukraine issue where they have totally startled the world to make them fear that Putin is going to bring them into a nuclear war is totally bogus. So since we did our podcast and I put it into that concise geopolitical perspective, the proof is now coming out. Over the 2 weeks, we've seen the media doing these news visuals of horrible things happen. What's really happening is taking out the dangerous factories that can cause harm to humanity globally with the products they produce in these factories. Trying to be mindful of not saying any buzzwords here. But what has evolved is that the media is producing video clips that appear to be live in Ukraine. These are old Beirut military operation films from the past. And unless the public goes back and researches, what I'm going to include in an article, a link that when this is over, will be an article that shows all these different news clips, and we'll compare them side by side to old military campaigns that happened in the past. So the people that are, your audience is very awake and very much so critical thinkers. So they eventually will get to this point, but they may need something that they can provide to their loved ones or people that are not critically thinking and say, look, this was in Beirut. They're side by side. So what we're experiencing is one of the largest wag the dog military operations with CGI, information warfare, propaganda by the deep state to try to attempt to go into a third world war. They are very desperate at this point. Although, if you follow our podcast, we have a strong understanding and discernment that the white hats are really the puppet masters behind all of this Sun Tzu warfare. So I feel confident, I feel safe. And the bigger picture is why I was able to put together within a day after the war started what has turned out to be the authentic narrative. Our background over the last 5 years decoding this operation has given us that ability to not be terrified, to see exactly what's happening. So in Ukraine, there is a globalist who is the third richest man in Ukraine. His name is Kolinsky, and he is the puppet master for the president of Ukraine. He also is behind funding Hunter Biden, which this is all, the public is eventually going to be able to put these narratives together and see where this globalist who put Zelensky, how did Zelensky, who is an actor, become a billionaire? It's because of his corrupt ties, being a puppet master and carrying out the Nazi Khazarian mafia goals of the New World Order. So this New World Order, Khazarian mafia, communist collaboration was being set up to come into fruition.
Alan, your audio has stopped. I can't hear you. No, I can't hear you.
Let's see.
I can hear you now.
No. Okay. Well, this is, I guess it's the distance between here and London. Who knows? You know, it
could be the deep state.
That's what. It's the deep state. This is what you get for being an international broadcaster. You know, these sometimes it's better than some of the satellite feeds I've heard in legitimate news. So forgiveness to the audience for these interruptions. So we left off with the Hunter Biden and Zelensky being spiritual cousins in the deep state. So this globalist oligarch, they call them oligarchs in Russia and that part of the world, what we refer to as a globalist. He's the third richest man in Ukraine. And so this gentleman is responsible for making sure that Hunter Biden got the $50,000 a month. So, and also that Zelensky got installed as his puppet. And so we went into, in our second broadcast on Ukraine, we talked about Obama's birth certificate and its link to Ukraine and his relationship with being part of the SUBUD. In this article, I'm going to bridge these together with how who the puppet masters of these individuals are. This, there's intel now that alludes that Obama is the birth child of the gentleman who started the SUBUD. And this became his puppet master along with Alaweed of Saudi Arabia. This globalist oligarch is the puppet master of Hunter Biden and the puppet master of Zelensky. And he's a multi-billionaire. But Zelensky, how does an actor turned president become a billionaire? It's only through corruption and being part of the deep state leading us into the New World Order. And if you're part of this child trafficking, Moloch and Bell sacrifice, this is how you make it in the world. So I believe what is going to happen is I think they're going to use this when they go up and take out the media. I think this is going to be what helps the public decide they can no longer tolerate this ineffective journalism and propaganda that Obama signed in 2012 to allow propaganda to happen. I think the public is going to realize with the experience they're having now and having been lied to for the last 5 years, this is what's going to make them rise up and see that these institutions are removed. This was the goal of the White Hats. They were going to take out the World Health Organization, the CDC, the mainstream media. The white hat goal was to not just punish these people, but to totally eradicate and eliminate their entire institutions of the fake media, the Mockingbird media, all these organizations that allowed the jab to come into play, which is part of the Agenda 21 depopulation agenda with Georgia Guidestones, et cetera. That comes through this deep state, Masonic, Baal-worshiping, Babylonian nightmare that the white hats and Trump have stopped or are in the process of eradicating. We're still in the movie simulation right now where the public is learning what the true facts are. But there's so much compelling evidence that this is the wag the dog CGI attempt by the deep state to terrify the public into supporting them fight their enemies, not the enemies of humanity. We have learned that Putin is a white hat operative taking out this child sacrificing cult, the Khazarian mafia. He's with us in this operation. He's looking out for his nation, Russia, just like Trump is looking out for America. But we both share the same enemy in that our enemy is this deep state. Xi Jinping has the same enemy of the deep state. So in this moment, when we're fighting this global nightmare, they have come together as allies for this goal, even though we all have our own sovereign territories. So great things are coming as long as the public starts putting these narratives together. And then the rest of the people that have not had the 100 monkey effect, we're waiting on that 100 monkey effect to kick in so that everybody can be on a similar page, support the movement to take out these rogue operatives. And I think we're getting closer and closer. But that's some of the stuff going on in Ukraine.
So what do you think is going to happen in the near future after the Ukrainian situation has died down? When do you think, Trump will take back the office like he says he will?
I personally, I don't see that happening unless something happens where I kind of have a feeling that we may take the full. It may not take the full till 2024. I know it'll be after nothing will happen in my discernment before the primaries. I'm not even sure that he will come back except under the normal, what appears to be normal political integrity, political processes. This is my just instinct, just observing what I'm observing, because I'm not sure that there's going to be any radical turmoil unless something happens that we're unaware of. Well, you know how we've had so many pivots that we were not anticipating ever since 2022. Another thing, you had a guest on, Nick Olivier, who told about his sentencing. A gentleman that I'm on a speaking tour with, Cooey Griffin, he just had his trial and was found guilty of trespassing. I wasn't expecting that. These gentlemen that are and part of this J6, I think the information and truth on the J6 has to come out. There's going to have to be a lot of things come together for the public who is still asleep. I was telling you earlier that I, in my networking experiences recently, I've made connections with some of the Republican grassroots persons that are helping launch political candidates. I've been attending their meetings while I was in South Florida. I attended a Trump rally where I was able to network with these persons, and the information I'm picking up on is a lot more has to come out from everybody getting on the same page and having a cumulative understanding. What you understand and our geopolitical aware, astute, critical thinking viewers and the citizen digital soldiers understand is different from Trump supporters who are traditional grassroots politicians. They understand a little bit of this, but they don't understand what we do. These two narratives are going to need to merge before I see any major upsetting shifts like Trump coming back into office. This is just my intuition. I think we could even go the full 4 years, or unless something happens. What people need to understand is they're waiting on Trump to come back. They don't need to wait on Trump to come back. Trump is back. It's my discernment. When I visited South Florida, I'm telling you, I felt like I was in Washington, D.C. The energy and the vibe, the connections and the networking is like being in D.C. I was there for 5 days, and I had an invitation every day to attend. I went to Palm Beach for an event one night, went to Broward County and networked with 2 GOP networks. I think Mar-a-Lago is the White House. You know, people waiting on Trump to come back, relax. The same thing that needs to happen is happening now.
Absolutely. So you know, you say things will come out on the mainstream, not on the mainstream, sorry. Things will come out like J6 and probably more than just J6, and it is coming out. But when, but how are the people, or the people who are asleep, going to find out everything if the fake news media is so corrupt and they won't, you know, talk about it?
They're going to collapse on themselves. I think what is happening, we know that Obama legalized that propaganda by reinstating the Smith-Mont Act that allowed propaganda to be legal. I think this is now coming out. Someone took my article on the, someone I think from Australia, whatever, and it's gotten over 1,000 hits where they put it into an article explaining Ukraine. So I know this information is expanding where they're linking the media to all of these other events. And I think that something's going to happen where when you get all this story of Ukraine, Hunter Biden, and the deep state all combined, and people start putting this together, people are not wanting to wake up, but they're getting more and more awake. I think that we're really, really close to that 100 monkey effect. That's when Trump could safely make any type of move that won't upset the public. He has to keep the appearance of not having a coup. Mm-hmm. You know, everything has to be integrity, by the book, look, and let the people drive this narrative. That's why it's important to go out and participate in helping candidates get into office. We have the military covert operation, and then we have the grassroots element that General Flynn spoke of early on, how we have to do local. It's important that both of these information networks come together and do their magic. We've got to have legitimate votes and people brought in during the elections next November, during the midterms. That has to be a landslide success. That's going to jar people into saying, what the hell happened? They're going to research, because the liberals, they still think they're in power. Their fake president that they think is legitimate is in power. They're not researching. They're still sitting on their ass, part of a sting operation. So they're going out committing their usual crimes while the white hats are observing them in a massive sting operation. So this is a brilliant operation to catch these nutbags who are low frequency, non-discerning criminals. They're making mistakes. I know this by talking to people that I used to know in that element of the world and their politics. They're scared and nervous, but they still think their man's in office. You know, so I think these two realities are slowly coming together, and it's going to build to a crux where, boom, all of a sudden the truth is out and something has to happen. You know, but it's going to have to be with the will of the people asking for it to happen. The top is not going to come in and make any type of power moves that make it look like it is manipulation of power. It's going to be the people driving that. But we know it's already there. Trump is already in power. Trump is already in charge. But before he comes out in public, the public is going to have brought him back and welcome that, to let him come out of his disguise of being president and take the reins, is the way I see it happening.
Well, Alan Fountain, you've explained that beautifully. Thank you so much. It's been great to have you again. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
I just want to thank everybody for supporting me with your network and your audience, because my ability to help the children has jumped fivefold with just in the last month of after people supporting my Give, Send, Go. So that has allowed me to be network with these people adjacent to Mar-a-Lago and in these movements. And we're going to move forward. I'm starting a nonprofit now. So all of my resources are going to go to starting that nonprofit, and I'm going to get funding from some of these sources so that I don't have to rely on the public anymore. But I want to thank everybody for their love and support. And I see great things coming. And I want everyone to not be in fear, but to stay optimistic and realize we're in the movie simulation. Don't play into the public's movie. Stick in your truth and faith. Trust what I believe if you're not ready to believe what you believe, because I'm seeing it happen. But great things are coming. We're winning.
We are definitely winning. Alan Fountain, thank you so much. And we'll speak again very soon. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Nicholas.